Welcome to A to Zephyr with Ryan Nauman from Zephyr. In this podcast, we help wealth managers, financial advisors, and asset managers overcome challenges in creating meaningful investor relationship experiences. We do this by introducing innovations driven by Zephyr's cutting-edge technology and global financial insights. Join us for this journey where we dive into pioneering wealth management strategies as Zephyr draws from decades of experience and guest financial wizards to address the nuances of investment management.
And welcome to the A to Zephyr podcast. Ordinarily, your host would be Ryan Nauman, but today's the inaugural podcast. And as such, Ryan is joined by a couple of other of his colleagues today to introduce themselves and to give you an idea of what they're about, the kind of services they offer, and who they are. As I mentioned, this is the first podcast, so the intent here is to give people an idea of who you are and maybe make them hit that subscribe button so that we can pick up some subscribers right away. Let's begin with a couple of personal questions first. And Chris, I'll start with you. How did you decide to get into this industry? I mean, is this something you always wanted to do? Give us a little bit about your history and how you ended up at Zephyr.
No, so it's an interesting story, though. No, this is not what I've always wanted to do, though I have been in financial services since I got out of college. I started off at a small brokerage here on Long Island, worked through sales and operations, and then went to work at operations at one of the larger discount brokerage firms. From there, I went over to another discount broker, ran their trading desk, and then got into the technology side of it when I joined a company called Digitrade that did touch tone and internet trading information for brokerages and banks. We actually did the first internet trade for a company called Alphauser way back when. I'm not sure that dates me or what, but Digitrade provided a lot of online experiences for financial advisors, for end clients, and for operations folks. That company was then acquired by Thomson Financial. Spent a bunch of years at Thomson Financial working with advisors and Thomson's advisory services, as well as their back office system. Then through acquisitions and mergers and everything else, I was running the fixed income division for Thomson Reuters for the Americas. That just got me more hooked on the different investment vehicles and what they do and everything else. And then I went over to Informa about 6 years ago to help the financial intelligence vertical bring all of their customers together and all their offerings together. And so I've been doing that for my entire career.
And so for clarification for folks who are listening, Informa is the parent of Zephyr, is that right?
Yes, Informa is the parent company of Zephyr.
Well, great. Let's turn to Randy now. Director of Product Management. How does one get to be Director of Product Management at Zephyr, Randy? Where'd you come from?
Well, first it was understanding what I did not want to do. So I have a degree in accounting. My goal at the time was to pursue my CPA designation, which required numerous hours working in tax. So I spent one full tax season and at the end was about to explode. Was not happy with that whole experience, but I really enjoyed the finance side of accounting. So I worked for a bank as an analyst after that. And then once I moved, we lived in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and then I relocated to the Lake Tahoe area. And I worked for an investment consulting firm. Moved on to a senior research analyst position there. So we use numerous quantitative analysis tools, different software, mainly analytics, not dissimilar from Zephyr. And in 1998, we were approached by a firm that was just really kind of getting started with quantitative analysis software. We reviewed it and bought it. It was the best product that we had called PerTrack. 2 years after that, I became friends with one of the founders. I actually started working for PerTrack. And here we are over 20 years later. I'm still in the financial technology space, providing solutions for investment professionals. I love the domain. After PerTrack, worked with a firm called eVestment, but I've been fortunate enough to work my way through that up to a director role, but being in the technology solution space has been quite rewarding.
Yeah, there are a lot of different products out there.
There are.
There really are.
Only one Zephyr.
There is only one Zephyr. That is true. And we'll get into that in a little bit as well. Ryan, let's get some of your background. How did you come to be market strategist at Zephyr?
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill. And hopefully my response doesn't scare anyone away from subscribing or giving us a thumbs up on the podcast. But growing up in a very small town in Wisconsin, my exposure to the industry was really through talking to my dad about investments. Small town Wisconsin, it's not a mecca for investment management, for the investment management space. He was a dental technician, but always had a fascination with stocks. He never had enough money to be a big investor, but he would invest a little here and there. And I remember having conversations with him, one specifically about him investing in some Amgen call options. And he said he made a few $100s. And I was so impressed. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so my introduction through this industry is really conversations with my dad. And in college, it's similar to what Randy went through. In college, I majored ironically in management information systems, as it was the same time period as the .com craze. And I was reading about all these huge sign-on bonuses and plenty of jobs and all this stuff. And all I could think about was dollar signs. So that is why I went into that major. And let me tell you, all the young listeners out there that are listening right now, that is not the best strategy for picking a major. So even though I got a degree in it, I really struggled and it didn't come easy for me. I wasn't really passionate about it. Yeah. So I struggled to find a job in the tech industry after college, and I came across a job posting at the regional brokerage firm Piper Jaffray, which is in the Midwest primarily. Through college, I continued to be intrigued by the investment space, continued to talk to my dad about investing. So I applied and I got accepted into what was then called the Piper Jaffray University. And really that was it. I had to start at the bottom and work my way up, since I came from a different educational background. I didn't have good grades. That is really where it started. I haven't looked back. I moved to Seattle through Piper Jaffray, as I really needed I needed a fresh start after college. And it was tough, as I didn't have much money. And rent, as we all know, in Seattle was very expensive. I couldn't afford a U-Haul to move my stuff across country, and a bed wouldn't fit in my car. So I slept on the floor in a very old, beat up studio apartment for over a year. And during that time, I read a lot of books during my free time, read a lot of books about investing in the wealth management industry to try and play catch up, because I was well behind anyone else that it was starting. So that is really when my love and passion for the industry took off. And luckily, I was very fortunate to work with some great people along the way.
That's great. Well, number one, I would make the observation: very, very few people are doing today what they went to college to do. That's first. And second, I think your story is inspirational, because I've worked in Wall Street and financial communities for a long time, and the hallways of all of those buildings down there are lined with people from elite backgrounds going to elite schools. I think there's something inspiring and reassuring about somebody who had to work their way up and work their way through the industry. In my mind, Ryan, that gives you some credibility. Okay. That gives me a reason to subscribe right there. Well, Chris, you're the director as head of Zephyr. Can you give us an overview of the company, what it is and what it does?
Sure. It's actually pretty fascinating, because Zephyr is the consolidation of about 6 or 7 acquisitions that our parent company Informa made over about a 10 or 12-ish year period. And so people have heard of Zephyr before in the industry, right? Show Me the Zephyr, providing style analysis and really the backbone of the ability to measure manager against manager. And I'm sure Randy and Ryan can get into a lot more specifics. It's that, and it's also, the attributes of the other companies we've bought. So over the last couple of years, we've brought all of those companies together onto a single platform. And so now we do everything from business development, proposal generation, all the way through to asset allocation, model management, performance, investment selection, investment screening, model creation, right? Really throughout the bulk of the process where an advisor or an asset manager interacts with their customer so that they can drive their story, tell their story, and show their value, right? There are a lot of advisors out there. There are a lot of asset managers out there. There's a lot of information out there, and we help those people bring it all together into a single story, which is really cool because, like I said, a lot of people know the name, but what we do today is the same but very different than we used to do. And so that evolution, that transition, has been really fascinating for me to be part of.
Yeah, information in the markets is one of the most powerful tools you can have, as a matter of fact. Randy, this seems like the correct question to ask you because you head up product development. Taking off of Chris's answer, I mean, how do you believe Zephyr offers investment managers a competitive advantage? And tell us a little bit about the products you offer.
The main reason I got into product management and now as a director is that I'm passionate about helping our clients provide the best service to their clients. So when we think about just take the asset manager or investment management space, we take a holistic view. For a firm to succeed, all of the functional teams within the firm have to succeed. So when we work with investment management firms, we work with portfolio managers, the research analysts, the sales team, the marketing teams, and the investor relations teams. So from a Zephyr perspective, the portfolio managers spend a good deal of time creating hypothetical portfolios, running analysis, performance, risk, and characteristics when building products that they'll take to market. Zephyr provides very deep research capabilities. So the research analyst can thoroughly, put together comprehensive competitive analysis for firms in the asset management world they compete against. The sales teams, one of our differentiators between Zephyr and I guess any other solution is the customization and the reporting. The sales teams have to put together pitch books that will help them present when they're doing presentations to prospects that are totally tailor-made and customized. We can provide that for them. The marketing team, it's all about storytelling. And again, it's putting the best foot forward and allowing, having a way for the marketing teams in the investment management space do that. And then the investor relations, when you bring clients on board, they're responsible for the ongoing and monitoring and reporting engagement. So again, it comes down to personalization, being able to customize, specifically for that engagement. So that's just in the asset management side. So for us to be able to provide tools that all the function teams succeed in the firm will succeed.
Yeah, interesting. Ryan, as market strategist and someone who's called on to, work as an advisor for many years, how do you see this technology and the markets playing together?
Bill, that's a fantastic question. You mentioned it, Chris mentioned it. We talked about information, right? Well, today's markets are not our grandfather's markets. Markets and stock prices, they move quicker than ever. And a lot of that has been due to technology and the increased accessibility to data and information. In order to stay informed and strive to create the best possible outcome for clients, wealth managers need to leverage technology more than ever. And in addition to the industry evolving for numerous reasons, so have investment products. And that is making it difficult or a bigger challenge for financial advisors to sort through all the different types of investment products in their quest to find the most suitable product for their clients. Before, when I started in the industry, is mostly individual stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Now, hedging strategies are available. Different types of alternative investments are available in addition to your basic REITs to retail investors. Then you have separately managed accounts. They're growing in popularity due to the increased accessibility. Before, they were just earmarked for the ultra high net worth individuals or institutions. Now, they're becoming a broader investment for the retail investor. So you need a reliable and comprehensive technology application that can help you make your practice more efficient in conducting investment research and creating investment portfolios to enhance that client experience.
Randy, this is probably best for you. The subject of AI is now impossible to ignore in the markets. I don't know about your inbox, but my inbox is inundated with AI strategies and technologies. So how does Zephyr plan to use it, or does it use it already?
We're going to approach it from two different perspectives. Last month, I was on speaking panels for private wealth forums, and AI was one of the hot topics. And listening to how advisors are dealing with this, they're very cautious. They're more focused on the information side and emails and messaging, kind of non-compliance issues, because that where it will come into play. But from our perspective, we're looking at it two ways. One that we can do soon here, and one that we're going to be researching. We track what our clients do in the Zephyr platform. We have analytics to understand what our clients are doing, the workflow that they're doing, the features that they're using. So in that sense, sort of where compliance won't be an issue, we do a lot of this tracking. It's all manual. We research, we detect trends, but it's time consuming. So we'll be able to apply AI where AI needs data, lots of data. And we have that data in the tracking that we use. And from that perspective, versus us creating guides, the system can use the data that it's learning from our clients and tracking and provide guides that will help them achieve their goals in the platform. So what it will be used to do is create a better experience. It will help us detect at-risk clients more quickly. So again, we have lots of reports and manual ways to track if a client might be at risk or if a user's at risk. It will help us prioritize features. We get lots of information. Again, we track the usage numbers, having the data automatically do that for us, which then leads into faster and probably more competent roadmaps. With all of the data, we're going to automate our own process of all the manual tracking that we do. That's on one front, really not a compliance issue. Then our team, Chris, we've been talking, we're going to research data gathering. So for us to apply now to the investment management process and automating that process with AI, we need data. So we'll have to look into the sources of information that we can use. Risk management, for sure. Zephyr is used as a risk mitigation tool. Well, now we'll be able to apply with the data that will need to apply that to risk management. Apply it to asset allocation. We actually had a prospect that asked us if we had an engine that would automatically create an optimal portfolio for them with certain information known about their prospect. So that'll play into it. Security selection. Even when you create the portfolio, how can AI play into, with market research and build a better picture as to what you're going to invest in?
Yeah.
Then we have the monetary rebalancing. We've been talking about a concept for a couple of years now, not built off of Tesla, but a self-driving portfolio, if you will. So it's similar. It's an extension of the asset allocation AI that could be implemented, where now with a new information coming in on a client's client, that the portfolio can make adjustments and make changes and trade. And that will free the advisor up, per se, to do more other types of engagement with their clients if they can automate this investment management space or part of their workflow. And then manager due diligence. Our clients are constantly screening for managers for new mandates, replacing mandates in their portfolio. This could, automate that process with information that we have on the managers. And again, taking more of a manual process out of it and automatically have a way to just find the best fit for, our clients' goals. So we have kind of two sides. One will happen sooner in the user experience. The other, we're going to look at and research applying it to the investment management process.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. The application to the management side as well as to the investment side of the deal. It does seem clear, Randy, however, AI is, I don't want to use the word forcing, is bringing big changes to the way we do money management. And I would imagine the way y'all look at all that data. That's what it sounds like.
and we will have to be cognizant of the compliance. It's not like we can just go make this happen, but we're going to, use it on how we can understand our client experience and make that better. But then on the other side, how do we help them make better decisions in the investment management process and actually automate that process, which is where AI really will come into play.
It's going to be interesting to watch it evolve. Chris, I want to jump back to you for a second. It sounds like Zephyr is a tool just for financial advisors. Is that true?
No, I think, it's such a feature-rich solution that I think it's difficult to pigeonhole it in any way, right? And we think of it as anybody that needs either financial advisor, an asset manager, an analyst. I think Randy said it before, right? Anybody that needs to make better decisions,
right,
and then communicate out that decision with their own flair, for lack of a better word, right? So be able to communicate out that decision, why they made that decision and why it benefits the customer. So if you look at it from an financial advisor standpoint, right? It could be, hey, I heard you on your goals. I heard you on your financial management today. I heard you on your investments. Here's a model portfolio, or here's the investments I recommend for you. But more than that, it's why do I recommend these investments, right? There are thousands of model portfolios and tens of thousands investments that an advisor can choose today, right? And so if all you're doing is running through with your customer and saying, hey, answer these 5 questions, here's a risk score, I'm going to match that to a portfolio, right? Without understanding why that portfolio is important or why that portfolio matches, or that there are other portfolios that are close, right? I mean, a number, don't use the numbers, right? But a risk score of 15 could match 10 different portfolios. That doesn't mean that 10 portfolios are invested in the exact same things, right? And so being able to communicate that out is incredibly important. That's where that value is in that asset allocation, being able to break it down, being able to show it, and then being able to show why you chose model A over model B. On the asset manager side, it's a very similar sort of idea where you can take your investments, you can take your portfolios, and you can compare them not just to your competitors' portfolios or competitors' investments, right? But you can compare them to your own portfolios, right? And understand the differences in your aggressive growth portfolio, right? You've got 5 of them. They're all for different levels of where people want to be, all for different levels of people, what their characteristics are, and all of that stuff, right? And so being able to go to an advisor and say, here are 5 really good investments for you, be that a model portfolio, be that an individual SMA, be that a mutual fund, whatever it is. Here are 5 investments that are beneficial to your customers because of these things, right? My returns are better. The style is better. The ESG or the thematic investing fits more of what your client might want with the same risk profile. Here's a better return with the same risk profile. Here's why it has a different risk profile, the underlying investments, right? So being able to do that both from the advisory side and from the asset management side to the advisors or to an investment committee or to, when you're filling a mandate or whatever it is incredibly important and incredibly powerful, especially as I think Brian said before, moving more towards a personalized investment style than just here's a managed portfolio, I'll talk to you in 6 months.
Ryan, our listeners have most likely seen you on Bloomberg TV or TD Ameritrade's network discussing the markets. We know that investors are finding it more and more difficult to manage their investments. Do you glean your insight from Zephyr? And if so, how can advisors get that same insight?
In this industry, it is so important to effectively tell your story, whether you're a financial advisor or an asset manager, but you just can't tell the story for the sake of telling a story. You must tell that story with integrity and supporting information. And Zephyr allows financial analysts, for example, to help tell the story, whether it's building a diversified asset allocation or discussing why the analyst selected the specific investment for a client. And then it allows you to use data, analytics, and comprehensive reporting that helps solidify and tell that story with integrity. So it's very important, especially when there's so many different options out there and different investments and the way this industry is evolving, to be able to tell your story, but tell it with integrity and use data to help support that story.
Always nice to have data to back up the story. You're absolutely right. And Chris, this kind of leads me to you, back to you. How do you and the Zephyr team engage with the clients, your clients, to understand and enhance their Zephyr experience?
Bill, we do a ton of client interaction, and that's everything from digital interaction, and I'll kick over to Randy for that in a second, but we like to act as consultants for our clients, right? What is the problem that they're facing and how we can help them solve it.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time with clients. We spend a lot of time with the market itself. Randy mentioned that he's been a panelist. I've been a panelist. Ryan does a regular podcast. We spend a lot of time with clients in the market to better understand not only what's out there and how they can benefit from us, but what we need to do in order to make them more effective, either better efficiencies, better investments, better in client engagement, just overall, what's best for them. But one of the cool things we do as part of the Zephyr platform itself is we take feedback right in the platform. I'm going to throw it back to Randy to give us a quick tutorial on what that is and what it does and how his team uses it.
From the product side, we have basically three main avenues for the engagement. Product teams sit in the middle of all the function teams: sales, account management, technology, marketing, and client service. So our team relies heavily on communication with the account managers and the client service team. They're on the front lines. They hear everything from the clients, what we do well, what we don't do so well. So that's a big one. Voice of the customer. I mean, we're outside in thinking. So our team spends a lot of time just on what we call VOC meetings and calls with our clients to engage with them. And then, as Chris said, the third one's through the product. We have a mechanism called feedback. It's a really cool way for the product team to engage with our clients. They enter requests, could be any kind of enhancement, small rock, medium rock, big rock, and all of our clients can see those. So they vote on those. So we as a product team, we analyze these every week to see what the most requested features are or functions, again, to help us prioritize. And then it's also a transparent mechanism for us where our clients, once they enter those, they'll see what we're planning and what we're building. And they can see, probably over the last 8 months, we've released about 90 of these requests, throughout the year. So those three avenues, really being engaged with our other function teams who are on the front lines with the clients, our team doing voice of the customer, outreach, and then really having them engage with us right through the Zephyr platform is really cool.
Ryan, I was going to kind of wrap this up by coming to you because you're going to be the regular voice on this podcast. What can listeners expect to hear and learn from you over the course of this podcast?
This podcast, our goal here is to help investment professionals, whether it's a financial advisor, financial analyst, asset manager, to help them demystify markets, right? Demystify markets and make more informed investment decisions. Plan on bringing on some industry leaders as guests that have their feet on the ground in this industry that can help educate and inform and give their expert insights into this industry and give use case examples of exactly how maybe they use Zephyr or how they make their practices, wealth management practices, more efficient. But at the end of the day, it's to help educate and inform by bringing in some fantastic guests from the industry so our listeners can make more informed investment decisions and enhance their client experience.
For the listeners who are wondering, I'd like to know more about this, and I'm not going to wait for the next podcast. Who would they reach out to, or how would they get in touch with you all? Like, what's a good way to make contact?
They can go to the website, zephyrfinancialsolutions.com, to get more information. It's pretty easy to reach out to any one of the three of us. but happily reach out, comment on the podcast itself. We'll get back to you if you want to provide your contact information, or just keep listening and ask questions and make suggestions for guests on the podcast. Because we've got a pretty good, and I say we, I primarily mean Ryan, got a pretty good lineup. Everybody from asset managers to practice management, industry experts, right? And so if there are preferences out there, I'm sure we can get you what you want the same way we do with the Zephyr Power Club.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you very much for this inaugural podcast. Really been very informative. Chris Volpe, Director of Zephyr, Randy Jones, Director of Product Management, and Ryan Nauman, Market Strategist, who will be the regular voice on this podcast as we go forward. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time. If what you've heard has intrigued you, you can reach out directly to Zephyr, as Chris has told you, or you can also do something even more simple. Just hit the subscribe button. That way, you won't miss an episode. And we also ask that if you like it, rate it. Give us a rating, share it with others, help other people discover and learn about this podcast. I'm Bill Tucker, and on behalf of Chris, Randy, Ryan, and everybody at Zephyr, I want to thank you for listening and remind you that you don't need to wait. Live your best day today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to A to Zephyr. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and be sure to check today's show notes on how you can get in touch with us. Once again, thank you for listening. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Zephyr. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.